Lizzie Collins. I live here in Sedona, Arizona, and love it very much. Been here 2 years, feel very much at home. But I've traveled a lot around the world, lived in many places, and I thought you might like to hear some stories about my travel, especially one that you might be able to learn something from. In 1984, I was publishing an alternative newspaper for the greater Cincinnati area. I had taken TM and yoga and thought it would be interesting to start a paper there. They had nothing like that. And so I was advertising yoga, community living, and vegetarianism, and there was an energy crunch on, so I spoke a lot about alternative energy. Another woman had started a publication, similar, but on a little more spiritual line. In 1984, she decided to go to India to visit gurus in the different ashrams there. She invited me to go along. I said, sure. So we made a plan to leave for New York and fly to India one Friday in November. And sure enough, I went out to the mailbox that morning to pick up my passport, where I had to send in for a visa to the Indian Embassy. My passport wasn't there. I thought, what will I do? So I called a travel agency. They told me you can get a passport in 2 places, Washington, D.C., or New York City in the Rockefeller Center building. I thought, aha, we were due to leave that morning. I used to work in the Rockefeller Center building, and so I thought that would be a place to go. And it did cross my mind that maybe one of those gurus didn't want me to come, and I was wondering if that was an alternative. But a fellow who was staying at our house, a gypsy musician, was just coming down to breakfast, and he said, maybe Babaji is testing your will. I thought, yeah, so I'm going to go for it. So that Friday morning, we got on the airplane for New York, flew in to LaGuardia, took a very expensive cab ride to Rockefeller Center, where I used to work at Time Incorporated, and went to the passport office. And there in the passport office was a line like this. You've seen them in airport security, clear across the room. I decided to go right up to the front of the line, take a chance, walk by everybody glaring at me, and went up to a little lady who was there, and I said, I desperately need a passport for today. I'm leaving for India tonight. And so she said, handed me some papers, and she said, well, maybe you can get there in time to get your picture taken at noon. So by noon, I went down, had my picture taken. I was really high as a kite, very excited. And I called my husband, Tom, who was back in Cincinnati, and told him, I will either be back in Cincinnati to see you on Monday, spending the weekend in New York, or I'll see you after a month in India. So, filled out all the papers, waited. Eventually, I got my picture taken. My friend was praying to Babaji. I was praying to Sai Baba. We had our gurus in mind. And at 5 o'clock that evening, a little gal beckoned to me from around a corner, and I went up to her. She handed me my passport. Well, I still had no visa stamp on it, and I knew the Indian Embassy was up at about 56th, 57th Street. We were at 49th. So we ran into the rush hour traffic in Manhattan. If you've ever been there, you know it's pretty bad. A cab was coming by with a man in it, a passenger, and he came up to us and said, what are you 2 girls doing running around the streets at this hour? The passenger. And we said, I have to get a visa stamp on my passport to go to India tonight. The passenger said, hop in. My wife went through the same thing trying to get to Afghanistan. So in we hopped. And up at the embassy, he lets us off, and I knock on the closed, there's a sign closed, and the big wooden door, bang, 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 kind of like Wizard of Oz or something. A man opens the door, says, we're closed. Shuts it again, and I bang, bang, bang. And he opens again, what do you want? I said, I have to get a stamp on my passport. We're planning to go to India tonight. Please help me. All right, just a minute. He opens it again. He allows me to come in. I go up and see the embassy man, and he stamps my passport, and I walk out. Well, off we go. We take a bus down to the cab down to the bus station, and there's another one of these long lines with everybody wanting to get tickets out to the airport. So I just yelled, "Does anyone want to share a cab to the airport?" 2 women say, "We'd like to." And so we all went out to the airport together, and we got on the plane that night. We had a wonderful, fabulous trip going from Ashram to Ashram. We traveled from the Nepalese border, clear down to Bangalore, Madras, down to Goa, tropical Goa, which was beautiful, where it's Portuguese, by the way, Catholic, and back to New Delhi, staying with friends of my friend Beverly. And it was a marvelous trip. I learned many spiritual truths. However, one of the main truths that I learned from this experience was that if you want to go for something, use your will and go for it, full bore, but be willing to accept the fact that the universe may have a totally different thing in mind for you, maybe something better than you have decided. Be open to the possibilities that your will may not be the best will in this situation. I feel that that is what I got out of the whole trip, the greatest truth that I learned, and I am happy to pass that on to you. As I look back on this experience, the odds against it happening are pretty great. If that guy hadn't come down the stairs and encouraged me at the moment when I was feeling, Babaji doesn't want me to come, if the lady had not accepted me at the head of this long line in the Rockefeller Center building, if we hadn't had that man come up and share his cab with us, if the Indian embassy had really been closed, if we hadn't gotten out to the airport in time, none of it would have happened. But from the beginning, I had a feeling, a strong feeling, a kind of knowing that it was supposed to happen. And that's what kept me going through the process. At the same time, I was willing to go home on Monday if it wasn't meant to be, and I had to turn around and fly back. I could have done that. It was easy to get tickets in those days. But that's not the way it turned out. The whole thing was a fabulous, life-changing experience, and one that I shall treasure all